Hey everybody, welcome back to the Stash Report from the Stash Project. This is going to be a little video we're doing that we're going to call domestic releases. We did the Shizuka Hobby Show video that sort of covered the second quarter mostly releases from the foreign kit manufacturers. And what we're going to do in this video is take a look at Round 2, Moebius, and Revell for the second, third quarter, and for Moebius pretty much through the end of 2017. I realize we're just buried and way behind. We went to NNL East last weekend, which was a great time, but being on a night shift worker, switching over to day shift for the trip out to Jersey, coming back and working 7 days straight on night shift again has just left me in a situation where I just had either no time or no energy to do anything in relation to this. So we got this video. We're going to do a video here that'll sort of catch us all up on kit announcements and kit releases for the month of April, since we're well behind on that. And then we have Inside the Stash to do for new stuff that has shown up here recently. So many things to cover, much stuff to talk about. So we're going to chop it up a little bit so it's not a really long video. So like I said, this one is going to cover the sort of summer, fall, late spring, if you will, of the U.S. domestic manufacturers. So we're going to start off with Round 2. Now we're going to sort of intersperse a bunch of pictures here. Round 2's got some flyers we're going to look at. I realize the flyers probably look like crap to you guys because it's sort of what Facebook does to an image is compresses it to make it fit on a Facebook, but then when you take it off Facebook, it looks like crap. We got some pictures from NNL East for some of the stuff we're going to talk about in terms of Moebius stuff and Revell stuff, so hope you enjoy what we're going to present for you. So up first here is going to be the Round 2 stuff, and this flyer here is for the Lindbergh Polar Lights Hawk stuff. There's a few car things on here. Now, as we look at this, right now there's nothing up for May release, unless Round 2 plans to update their website tomorrow to reflect the fact that it's May. So some of the stuff in here that shows that it's May or may not come out this month. But as of right now, only a few of these things are actually even on the release list. So you're seeing here a 1/16 scale reissue of the Serpent Show Rod from Lindbergh and a reissue of the Polar Lights Mercury Cyclone with a Bobby Allison Coca-Cola livery. Yes, that's right. Everything will be Coca-Cola this year because they paid for that licensing, along with the Coke GB Racer, which is a 1/32 scale plane, not a car, but this is one of the very few things for May that is actually on the release list that I have right now. And then showing in September, you're getting the first of the Mini Lindy 3-packs. These were HO scale, I believe, or something similar. Kits that Lindbergh did in the 1970s. Really what these kits need to be done is patterned up to 1/24 scale or 1/25 scale. I realize that's an impossibility in the way things work in real life, but be great to have the big Chevy heavy wrecker and the even the Chevy, I think it's like a 72 Chevy with the camper box. It'd be great to have those in regular scale rather than being these little tiny little toy snap tights, but be as it may, that's what's coming out from those guys. Now we'll flip over to the meat and potatoes AMT MPC stuff. Again, showing for May. The only thing on the May release list from this stuff that's already on is that weird 1/18 scale Stroker McCurk Ghost of America flying car hot rod doohickey-ma-bobber thingy-majiggy. Yeah, so I believe that might tickle a few people's nostalgia fancies, but beyond that, I don't know what good it's going to do you. A couple of big rigs in May as well. The Kenworth W925 conventional, not going to be boxed in the Moving On livery after all. Going to just be a regular release. Probably some licensing issues there in terms of the TV show. It's going to have some new Watkins decals. Apparently, to retool a few things to make it reissuable. They didn't mention exactly what things those were. But that'll be great to have back. I think I said it's the first time since 1989 this kit has been available. They're going to be reissuing the 75th anniversary white Freightliner 2-in-1. It's going to allow you to build either the single drive or the dual drive truck. both of those are so, fairly easily available because they've just reissued the actual kits themselves not that long ago. But be that as it may, those are coming back in a one box. So it's the first time you've actually been able to build either truck out of one box and not be two separate kits. And the one kit that I'm interested in, I do want a W925, but the one kit I'm really interested beyond that is the reissue of the 1980 Datsun 280ZX. Japan will get you a bunch of 240Zs and a bunch of the later 280s and 300Zs, but this one, for some reason, sort of got passed over, and it's a pretty decent little kit for the time, full detail and everything like that. Moving on to June, you're seeing a reissue of that wedge dragster that they put back together. This time it's going to have some new parts to turn it into the Hot Wheels sponsored Dom Perdome dragster. Another Coca-Cola liveried thing here with the Louisville short hauler coming back out with Coca-Cola livery. And then a reissue of the 1/20th scale. So this is a Lindbergh kit from about 1993 of the Nissan Hardbody 4x4 pickup truck. These 1/20th scale kits varied from average to really nice. This happens to be one of the really nice ones in my opinion. It's one of those kits it's a shame it was in 1/20th scale, but being that the powers that were in charge of Lindbergh at the time were some of the people that were really into the 1/20th scale stuff at MPC back in the day. It is what it is. If you're not completely and totally a scale bigot and you're interested in the subject matter, I suggest you pick one of those up, because that kit, as well as the Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited, were very, very nice kits, regardless of what scale they actually happen to be. I have built one of the hard body. I'm definitely considering picking up another one of them to build again, as I believe the one I built I didn't actually paint, because these kits, if anybody remembers the Lindbergh 1/20th stuff, it was highly polished molds, and you basically could polish the plastic out, which is what I did with mine. Moving to July, August, and September, reissue of the 39 Wagon Rod. That's been done to death at this point, but it's been a while since it's been active. Reissue of the 1/16 scale 79 Pontiac Firebird. A reissue of the 83 Chevy Camaro Z28 in the 50th anniversary livery. Reissue of the American LaFrance Pumper Fire Truck. All of the American LaFrance trucks are going to be reissued. You got the Aero Chief, February of last year, so this is going to be the Pumper, and the other one will come out some point afterwards. And then the next version of the new Tool Camaro is going to be the Chevy 50 pace car. So this will probably 99% be the full detail glue kit, because obviously the Snap-Tight kit is the 1LESS, so in order to maintain it being a Chevy 50, it'll have to be the full detail glue kit. That's aiming it, again, at the Indy 500 collectors. They did a fairly brisk trade in the Indy 500 pace cars they made out of, like, the showroom replica Corvettes, so it is what it is. If you're not interested, you're not interested. I still haven't picked up my Chevy 50, and it's one of those things I do want to get, but I don't think I'm going to get the pace car on top of it. In August, you've got the 3-in-1 customizing boat. Seen a lot of traffic on online forums with people being excited to have that kit back. It's a boat, so whatever. Reissue of the 59 El Camino. This is going to be an original art series box, which would mean, of course, being that larger box with the suitable for framing print included. And then some things here that don't have pictures. You get a reissue of the MPC 1975 Datsun pickup. I think we talked about this when the announcement was made that we're going to do this kit, and I don't think I've covered it since then. They are, by the way, guys, going to be doing this as the 3-in-1 annual kit, because there were actually 75 and I believe 76, and then there was one done after that didn't have a year attached to it. So this will be a 3-in-1. You can build factory stock as a sort of a custom and sort of like a California style type of pickup in that. I was under the impression, due to rumors that I had heard for years, that this kit couldn't be reissued this way because it had been destroyed basically to make it into the flip nose truck, which was then made into the monster truck version, which was released not that long ago. Talked to a few people, and they're like, no. Back in the day, the flip nose was released beside the annual kit, and there are actually two different body tools. So that apparently is really the case, and so I'm thrilled to be able to see that coming back. It's kind of odd to see that kit has never been reissued in its stock format, since 1977, which makes it as old as I am, because the 77 would have been the last annual kit that was done. You know, 40 years, and never once this kit was reissued. All of the time that they did reissued, like the D50 Ram pickup truck, the the Mitsubishi style truck, and the Chevy Love, and I don't know if the Chevy Love's been reissued recently, but it was reissued at least once while I was coming through my childhood years as a modeler. The Ford Courier pickup truck, all of those little mini trucks were reissued that were really Japanese trucks that were branded by American companies, but they never reissued this Datsun for some reason. I don't understand that. And then last here in September, the Mack Cruise Liner semi-tractor is coming back out. I know some people, have said, well, I still have those from the last time. Well, your inability to build quickly enough is not my problem. I don't have one, and I don't feel like paying the collector prices for one, so I'm happy to see that coming back. And then there's something here listed as the 1969 Dodge Country Charger RT Glue. I assume that this is going to be a reissue of the, Dukes of Hazzard kit, basically, without the Dukes of Hazzard tie-in. The glue indication would lead me to believe that, because obviously the new tool, as it were, MPC kit was a snap tight for the new Dukes of Hazzard car. So I assume this will be the old 69 Charger glue kit. And right now there's a bunch of Chargers floating around with Revell doing their 70 and everything else. So I can't fault them for trying, at least. So going over to Moebius. Moebius was set up at NNL. I had a chance to talk to Dave Messner real quick. He and I have gone around a few times on forums. I don't know if he necessarily knew that I was talking to him. I think he probably would have told me to hit the bricks had he known. But be that as it may, we chit-chatted with him. And so what Moebius is planning to do for the rest of this year would be, the next kit that's going to come out is the 1952 Hudson Hornet Coupe. You may think, well, that already came out once. Well, they did the 53. That was the first of the, car automotive kits, because technically the first automotive kit was the Lone Star. The 52 convertible apparently has a completely different interior than the 52 coupe. So all the people who, and myself included, were thinking about doing this. We're going to build a 52 Hudson coupe out of the leftover parts, basically, because if you have a Hudson convertible, you know that it has the grill and stuff for the 52 and the 53. Apparently, the 52 coupe uses a different interior than the 52 convertible, which is also a slightly different interior than the 53 coupe. So Moebius has found another way to nickel and dime you out of another $30 if you're really, really into your Hudsons. This kit will also come with the full wheel covers that the Hudson 52, 53 already came with, as well as those wire wheels that were done for the 54. After that, the next kit will be the Model King release of the 1962 Pontiac Catalina NASCAR kit. Following that will be the 1970 Ford Sports Custom, or Custom Sport, I guess I should say, which is a pickup truck in the 4x4 format. Yes, finally, after all of this time, some people wondering, a lot of us with functional eyeballs had seen the 4x4 parts when they were accidentally shown online, and we've known the 4x4 is coming for all this time, but a lot of people, of course, didn't see that oopsie that lasted for a couple of days on one of the forums, and, refused to believe us. Well, they're not. Yeah. Okay, well, if you wanted to take all the 4x4 parts out of the Camper Special AMT kit, knock your socks off, but I'm waiting until the real thing comes out. So that is what's going to be coming out sometime towards the mid to late summer. So that'll be that. That sounds like a short bed to me. I don't think it's going to be the 6-cylinder. I would assume this would have the 302 that was just put in the 72 Custom Sport pickup that was released, at the end of last year. I didn't specifically ask about engines, so I'm going to assume that it has the V8, because the V6 or the inline 6 is sort of the property, as it were, of the Model King, release. The next kit after that would be the regular street version of the Pontiac Catalina 421 Super Duty. That you cannot, by the way, build a street version out of the NASCAR kit. The NASCAR kit is going to be gutted interior with the roll caging and all that stuff. Also, technically kit bashing it into the Ventura isn't going to work either because the Catalina has a different interior and a different set of wheels. Here's a picture. So that finally will be coming along. I assume that the delay in these has been fixing the windshield issues that the 62 Pontiac was saddled with when it came out. And then I'm trying to think of something else, but it is escaping me right now. I don't think there's anything else, actually. And then the new thing that was announced at NNL East, if you talk to Dave, because it wasn't like there was no placard or anything else like that, would be that they're going to be doing a new line, or at least a couple of 1964, 1966 Ford F-Series pickup trucks. So this will be a new body tool and some new interior pieces and things like that. Interestingly enough, the chassis and drivetrain, running gear, and all that stuff that was introduced in the 1964 F-Series was used pretty much without change until 1979. So this allows them really a wide range of product on that running gear, the engine, the transmission, the chassis itself, and all that sort of things, just by changing up the body tooling. So will they do 73 to 79 at some point? Don't know. Wouldn't completely and totally rule it out, but yeah, I realize that that's not a new tool per se, like it's not a completely new thing, but yes, a 64 to 66 F-Series pickup truck will be coming at some point in 2018. Also coming at some point in 2018, this, which is the altered wheelbase 65 Satellite. I know a lot of people would, like to have that sooner than later. And that reminds me what the other kit is. At some point before the end of 2017, you will finally get, and this will be after the Model King does their NASCAR Pontiac, you'll be getting the California Flash Satellite Dragster. So all the people who've been, or not Satellite Dragster, but it is a Satellite Dragster because the other thing's a Belvedere. So yeah, finally, after all this, you get the two-door post A990 dragster that everybody has been really wanted. Unfortunately, you guys didn't buy enough Belvederes to really make Dave think that it would sell. He's sort of, I don't know, contractually obligated is the right word, but he's obligated to finally release it. And so before the end of 2017, no firm date there. For that. There's also going to be an AFX and a BFX, I believe is the term that Dave used, version of the Mercury Comet sometime in 2018. The tooling for the Ultra Wheelbase Plymouth and the Ultra Wheelbase Comets are more or less done. So, the tooling exists. They just have to do licensing and all sorts of other stuff, plus get out these kits that they're behind on, because really at this point, that 4x4 Ford should have come out 4 years ago, or 3 years ago at least, and, not now. And, of course, the Pontiacs got drug out with the windshield issues and everything else. So that would be what we have going on for Moebius. Now, moving over to Revell. Revell put out the flyer 3 weeks ago now. I meant to do it in just a regular stash project video, but be that as it may, we're going to cover it now. So this says second/third quarter new releases. I know I said there was no second quarter releases from Revell, and I'm going to stand by that because right now I don't know anything on this list that actually says it's going to come out before the end of the second quarter. So let's run through this real quick. Up on the build and play side of things, getting a new tool, 1/20th scale Scooby-Doo Mystery Machine. It's going to come with Fred and Daphne and Scooby. Everybody's wondering where Velma and Shaggy are. Apparently, little known fact, Shaggy, not really Scooby's owner, just hangs out with him a lot. Don't know if there's not really anything else from the Scooby-Doo series as far as a vehicle that I'm aware of that could have Shaggy and Velma in it. So I'm assuming that these figures existed in some format that they could get a hold of, and they decided to build a model kit around it, which is why it's 1/20th scale rather than the correct scale, quote unquote. Being that it's aimed for 6-year-olds, I don't think they care what scale it is. And really looking around at my kids' plastic toys, I'd say that 1/20th scale is probably what a lot of them are coming in these days. There's obviously 1/24 scale and 1/18 scale stuff that, people buy all the time and convert into, models, or build into models, I should say. But a lot of the plastic toy stuff is 1/20 scale, at least it seems to me. Also up there, you see a 2018 Ford Mustang GT, which forces me to bang my head off the hardest object in my house I can find as to why in the world this still is not a full detail model kit. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't understand. I get why this is easily done because, tweaking a few things on the existing build and play Mustang chassis and Shazam, you have a new vehicle. From what I understand, that actually comes with clear headlights. They're painted silver for some reason on this flyer and then on the box art car, but hopefully they're really at least our headlights this time. That was one of the, of course, big problems that the other build and play had. You could make headlights if you could, find the pattern and print it out and did a little work with it. Hopefully, had clear headlights will make it a little bit easier. Going over into the regular snap-tight stuff, there's a new 1/25th scale monster truck attached to the Monster Jam. Apparently, it's going to have truck sounds. Woohoo! And then there's a couple of things tied into the Halo video game series. I have a friend who's into sci-fi stuff and was complaining about the fact that these stuff is not the correct scale. Again, it's aimed toward younger kids, not hardcore serious builders. So, okay, it's not in the right scale. If you can somehow get kids who are playing video games involved in model making, then this is a win-win for everybody. Revell wins, kids win. Kids are interested. What else do you guys put out? Oh, look, cars, boats, planes, ships, Is it a surefire way to get kids to build models? No, but it's certainly a better way than they have done in the last decade anyway. I still think somebody, and really I think the somebody really would come down to being somebody like Aoshima or Fujimi in reality, really needs to get a hold of Gran Turismo or Forza and do cars from that video game. Some people, well, the kids aren't into cars these days. Kids are really into cars these days. Not so much not even Grand Theft Auto, which, the cars sort of kind of look like cars, but they're not really the cars because licensing, where there's a whole modification subculture in that game to modify the cars into other things. But Gran Turismo is going to have a new version of the game coming out here. I think it's before Christmas of this year, might even be earlier. And Forza 4 just came out before Christmas last year. Kids are really into cars. They're just into console gaming cars. There's got to be a way to tie that into model kits. You'd need a base to work from, and unfortunately right now Revell's new sports car base is all these stupid build and play things. So I don't know that Revell is really the answer there. And Aoshima and Fujimi certainly have a larger base in, Mitsubishi, Toyota, Nissan, Skylines and Evos and Supras and all that sort of thing. But I don't know. It just seems to me that has always been a missed link between car modeling and video game car stuff. So anyway, back to the flyer. So you got on the skill level 4 thing, reissue of the 1/24 scale Mazda Miata. This, of course, is a North American spec Miata. It is also the only Miata kit of the first gen NA Miata that has an engine that's full detail. I see a lot of people going, oh, what do you want that to come back out? Just build this far superior Tamiya kit. Well, Tamiya's, Miata is okay. There's also the Eunice one that is a JDM only version. But the reason why there are no aftermarket parts for the Revell Miata is not because it's the wrong scale, because this really is 1/24 scale. It is the fact that this kit came out in 1992 and has not been reissued since then. It wasn't an easy kit to find. Well, it's not a hard kit to find here in the United States, but outside the United States, where most of the aftermarket guys are, Hong Kong, Japan, etc., the kit's not that easy to find. To release parts that are designed to fit a kit that nobody in the country of your origin can buy, for lack of a better term, is pointless. So yeah, of course a lot of the stuff is for the Tamiya Miata because that kit's still available. It's always been in the catalog. It's never been discontinued. Will anything come of this reissue in terms of aftermarket parts? I don't know. You still have the wheel issue that where Tamiya not Tamiya wheels, but aftermarket wheels aren't going to fit the Revell kit because of Revell's non-use of polycaps. So you're going to have to make your own wheel fitting, so to speak. But it can't hurt to have this come back out. See the Cadillac Eldorado, which is really the Eldorad. This is the other Foose new toolkit, complete kit, full detail, engine tranny, the whole 9 yards. And then you see here they're turning the Starsky and Hutch 1974 Torino into a 1976 Ford Grand Torino. So this is going to have stock engine components added to it, as well as the stock wheel covers added to it. Going down to skill level 5, a lot of people complained that the Kenworth K100 got pulled too quickly, discontinued too fast. Really, there were a lot of molding issues in that kit where a lot of people were getting it with a really, really warped cab, or they were getting with the cab's window frame busted as far as like either the middle windshield support or the cab, what would be the A pillars, for lack of a better term, being broken. Also, obviously got pulled because they're going to reissue the Aerodyne version of this. So basically, this is the same kit as the K100, just with the larger stand-up sleeper. A kit that I certainly have been waiting for a long time. Told you guys it would be coming once that Fast and the Furious Charger was announced, and that is, of course, the 1970 Dodge Charger RT in its factory stock trim. Some griping that this kit has a Hemi in it rather than a 440. Be that as it may. By the way, the little side things on the door, little side pouches, if you will. There's a name for that, but I can't think of what it is. Scoops, really, I guess. They're not really, wouldn't think of them as being scoops because they're not really facing forward. But those are separate. This is basically the 70 tooling. It's just going to have the correct front end. It's going to have the side scoops put on that you'll be able to put on the door, and it has the correct rear end. A lot of people went apoplectic about the fact that the Fast and the Furious kit had a 69 Charger rear end to it. Well, that's what the movie car had, so it was accurate to the movie car. This does have the actual correct rear end. And then a reissue of the 64 Ford Fairlane Thunderbolt 2-in-1. This will have the Thunderbolt actual graphics back, the first time since back in the early 1990s when this kit came out. It's been reissued not that long. I think 2010, 2011 was the last time when it was sort of done with that special edition boxing and sort of turned into a quasi-street car. This is going back to it being an actual drag car with a teardrop hood and all that stuff. And then, last but not least, in the skill level 5, 18 plus, because these are technically adult collectibles at this point, are the full detail NASCAR kits from Revell. So these are going to be 2 Ford Fusions, Jimmy John's, Kevin Harvick, and the Aspen Dental for Danica Patrick. I'm so far out of NASCAR, I did not realize that Stewart-Haas Racing had changed to Fords to begin with. So, yeah, okay. Really what it comes down to is I'm thinking, if somebody releases a livery that's, obscure enough, if you will, then, yeah, I'll be in for one of these NASCAR kits. I want to sort of reward Revell for going ahead and taking the plunge back into full detail NASCAR kits. Not so much because this was a surprise. It's not. If you read the contractual obligations they had for NASCAR, they had to make these kits. But, the Snap-Tite kits were below par in the sense of being modeler friendly. They had the old chassis. They were not exactly copies necessarily, but they were certainly patterned after the chassis from the 2002 Ford Taurus and the 2002 Impala SS kits. So they were not correct chassis for the Gen 6 NASCAR kits, but the bodies were pretty spot on. And I sort of skipped the Snap-Tite kits because the glue kits were coming. And if I was going to do any kind of NASCAR building, I would be doing the glue kits rather than the Snap-Tite kits with the completely wrong everything but the body. So let's take a quick look at a few things from NNL East, from Revell's table, to give you a little flavor, if you will, of the box builds that were up there, available for the public scrutiny, if you will. First up is a picture of the upcoming Revell of Germany 934 RSR. This is the Valiant version. Of course, there's going to be a Jägermeister version as well. These kits were actually just issued in Japan a few days ago, which I believe means they're available in Europe as well. That would probably look for us to get them in maybe June or so. That would be, 7 or 8 months late at this point from their original release date, but they are going to be out. These are full detail kits, full engine and everything else like that. Ed Sexton was bragging about that, different from the Tamiya kit from the early 2000s. That's based on some late 80s tooling and has always been a very, very simplified kit. there's something about this that doesn't quite look right to me, and I can't put my finger on it. And pretty much everybody else I've talked to has said the same thing. I don't know if it's just because this is sort of a built test shot kind of thing, or what, but a lot of us are just like, it doesn't quite look quite right visually, but it's like you need to get the Tamiya kit out to compare it to, or get some pictures out to compare it to. It's just something about the roof and the rear end that doesn't quite jazz, but well, maybe it's just our visuals. Then you have, here's the 76 Gran Torino. The hood does fit correctly, but somebody had asked Ed to open the hood to show off the engine so they could take a picture of it. But you see the new wheel covers here. That box art in the back is something else. That box art looks like a Chrysler Newport to me, but be it as it may, anybody who knows there was about 70 Newport had that same sort of front end look on it. Very different box art than the regular sort of thing that you see out of Revell. But this is one of those kits where I saw it on the flyer when the flyer came out, and I was like, yeah, whatever. But seeing it in person, yeah, you know what? I'll probably end up buying one. Here's the Foose 56 Ford. So this is going to be the first Foose pickup truck. I believe this is on the release list for either this month or next month. And I can't remember if it's May or June. And right now, Revell's release list is, fluid until the last minute. So this is going to be a brand new kit. This is 3D scanned from the actual vehicle. You cannot build a stock 56 Ford out of this because the real truck has been chopped and pancaked and tweaked and whatnot. If you sat the two of them beside each other, you'd really be able to tell. A lot of people just look at this and go, oh, it's the same truck. No, not even close. It's got the Roush engine in it, so that's a nice touch. It's got the real correct engine in it. They didn't just make up something. Full detail kit, obviously engine, transmission, all that stuff. Again, another kit that I really, really wasn't going to be all that interested in. Seeing it in person, all right, I think I might buy one of these as well. Next up is the Eldorado, the little Cadillac here. The one thing I look at this and I sort of at is the fact that the Carson top that goes on here seems to fit in, be removable so you can see the interior, which is all fine and well, but there's some big ass holes behind the rear seats when you take the roof off. And I don't know that the car obviously probably doesn't actually, the roof probably doesn't come off the car actually in real life. Or maybe the whole back of it is sort of a folding top. I'd have to dig around and look. I really don't care enough to dig around and look. But to see if there's a way that the top goes down or if that's a permanent up top. But anyway, the roof is separate because Revell. And this is, again, a full detail kit. Engine, transmission, drivetrain, a whole 9 yards. Again, this would have been the one that I was looking at getting anyway because I kind of like the concept and I don't hate the design. And seeing it in person pretty much solidified that as being a purchase to make in the fall. And then let me see what else we got here. Here's a picture of the Suburban. This is going to be, of course, the 66 Suburban that's been pushed back to June. Somebody busted the mirror off of it, handling it. Way to go, guys. I'm sure Revell appreciate that. But this, obviously, I don't know exactly sure why this was delayed. We didn't really ask and didn't really care. But this is, a look at the Suburban. The Suburban has barn doors, in case you're wondering. Here's some photos of the 70 Dodge Charger RT. You can sort of see the side scoops there being not so much separate, but you can see them being added to the kit here. And there's the rear end showing the proper 70 Dodge Charger rear end. So people have pointed out there's a black sheet metal section that separates the rear taillights. It has a little RT logo on it. Keep in mind, guys, when they're building these test shots, they're test shots, so the decals aren't done. That rear decal that's on this is from another Charger kit. Same thing with the RT decals that are on the the scoops there. So what they're going to do with this in terms of either a decal or a piece that may be added later, I'm not sure, but pretty confident that that little black piece is going to be added to the kit before it's released. And like we said, this does have a Hemi. It is also not at all related to the 68 or 69 tooling. The 70 tooling was a brand new tool. So no fears or worries that the 68 or 69 have been tampered with, so to speak, and are not going to be coming back out. And last but not least, they have the Danica Patrick version of the NASCAR kit. there. Didn't really take a picture of the body per se because the body is what it is. It was correct back, in its snap-tight form. I don't assume it's going to get any worse. Here's a picture of the completed chassis. A couple people have said that the tire's a little too fat and too square. That may be, don't know for sure. Here's a picture of the overall parts layout. You do get a driver figure. Whatever problems this kit does have in terms of the wheels being the wrong side, the tires rather being sort of the wrong dimensions, we can all contribute to the fact that we shouldn't have wasted money on the stupid driver figure that nobody's going to use and put it into the tire tooling instead. I got a couple close-up pictures of the trees here just to show off some of the detail. This one showing the engine components, the rear spoiler, looks like the firewall, the racing fuel cell, just to show the detail of sort of the engine block and things like that. This one here has the front cover of the engine, the alternator, the timing, or the timing belt, the water belt, the front half of the differential, some upper A-arms, what looks like the oil core, the shocks, the ignition, which is a very nice little piece, very fine detail on that, as well as the wheels themselves. Revell still insisting on using a weird two-piece wheel with, I'm sure it'll be a new revolutionary new way to mount wheels. Just make one-piece wheels attached with polycaps and stop dragging this shit out already, pardon my French. This tree here shows the brake rotors. They do have a little bit of cross-drill action to them that's not raised like Herbie's, like the Corvette C7R had. This also has the shocks, the steering arm, the shifter, the air cleaner, the two halves of the radiator, the pedal set, fire extinguisher, drive shaft, and the top of the dashboard. And I believe that is it. So, yep, guys, there you go. Shazam! Your summer, fall kits for your domestic manufacturers. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back with far more content in the next couple of days, and we'll see you guys on the other side.